everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Sportsbook Confidential. My name is John Sullivan, and I'm coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in Seneca Falls, New York. And this little show here is to help you learn and grow as a sports bettor. And today is just all about football. We've got so many games to cover, so much football this weekend that I'm just going to spend my 30 minutes with you going over all the fantastic games we have this weekend, and we'll try to find some value, and I'll have some picks for you. And before we get into all that, as we always do, I'm going to update my bankroll, and let us start by taking a look at that. And as you can see, we started last week with a bankroll of $537. We started out very good on Saturday. We had BC plus 4.5, playing Virginia Tech, or I can't remember if it was Virginia Tech. Plus $17 profit. They won outright. Pitt was plus 3, and that was a loss for us. I think that was I can't remember if that was the Virginia Tech game or not. Fresno State plus 13.5 against USC. They lost by 8, but they covered for us, so plus $17. And then the trouble started. We had 2 CFL losses, the Argonauts under, minus $18, and the Eskimos over, again, minus $18. Just been a crazy year with the CFL. I haven't been able to figure it out at all. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. And then last night we had the Bears minus 3, and that did not work out for us. It was a one-score game the whole way. 10-3 was the final score. Not a very exciting game for those of you that like offense, but learned a lot about that, about those teams. So if you do the math, that's a loss of $38, and our new bankroll is now $499. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. It's been a rough 6 weeks for us. But if you do the math and divide by 30, that will make our bet size going forward this week $17. So that's what we're going to do when we wager this weekend. We've got a full slate of college football and a full slate of pro football. So let's get right into it. I'm not going to be able to review every game, but I picked all of the pro games, all the NFL games, and select college games. And we're going to start with college here on Friday night, tonight. We've got Marshall at Boise State, and the line is minus 12, and 57 is the total. And for those of you who are not familiar with the show, the numbers in parentheses are my model that it creates a simulated outcome. And this shows Boise State favored by 11.97 and 55.08 as the total. So it doesn't look like there's much there. It's pretty close to where the market is actually at. I do like Boise State here, obviously, coming off that win at Florida State last week. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a very interesting year in the Mountain West with Fresno and Nevada and Utah State and Boise State. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. So on to the next big game. It's the Cuse at Maryland against the Terps. The line is Maryland minus 1.5, 58.5. And my model has Syracuse as a 2.47 favorite, 58.68. So it puts the total right where it's supposed to be. However, I think this line's in kind of an overreaction. Maryland beat a team 79-0 last week. I think it was Howard. And Syracuse also shut out their opponents, Liberty, but I think it was only 17-0. So you have two teams, that you compare and you say, well, Maryland must have the better offense, but it's total overreaction. Syracuse played a very well-coached team in Liberty. Hugh Freeze is an excellent coach, and I feel like the level of competition was much stiffer compared to what Maryland faced last week. I feel like Syracuse is the better team here, and I do feel like there's value on taking them. However, on the money, there's not a great odds on the money line. It's like plus 102, so we'll see what happens. Moving on, we got West Virginia and Missouri at a Big 12 versus SEC, and we have Missouri favored by 13.5 points. 62.5 is the total, and my model has Missouri favored by 9.77 points. So there's about a 4-point swing there for West Virginia. West Virginia's in kind of a rebuilding year, and I feel like Missouri's like another year further down the rebuilding path than they are. There may be better value on the board here, but it would lean under as well. And then you've got, this game is very interesting to me, Cincinnati Bearcats at Ohio State. Ohio State minus 15.5, 52 is the total. And my model has it minus 16.6, which is very similar. And then my model has the total at 65.24. So that seems to be tremendous value on the over. Cincinnati moved the ball very well against UCLA last week. Ohio State will score points. So if you feel like Cincinnati can put up that 21 points and you get 31 out of Ohio State, which I'm sure you will, that's going to be 52. I really feel like that's going to get there. Nebraska at Colorado. This is a very interesting game. These are two former rivals in the Big 8 that now play in different conferences. That's Big 10 versus Pac-12. Colorado, 4.5 dogs. My model has it exactly the same. And 64.5 is the total. I have it at 59.85. Colorado, I think, got kind of a pass last week with Colorado State. I expected that game to be closer, but there were too many turnovers. And there were a lot of chunk plays. So I do feel like this is going to lean under. So we'll see if that's a good value for us down the road here. Texas A&M at Clemson, minus 17.5, 62.5. So I have that as minus 14.88 and 55.12. So you can see it's about a touchdown difference. That would lean under. We really don't know what we got here. Clemson played Georgia Tech last week, and they had their starters pretty much out of the game by halftime. They pretty much scored at will. We know that Texas A&M is obviously going to be higher level of competition, but still uncertain to see what the true nature. I feel like this game is going to be a little more competitive, like, 14, 15, 16 points. I don't know if I feel strongly enough because, a team can make a low percentage play and give up a turnover late in the game like the Bears did last night. But it does lean under. San Diego State at UCLA, minus 9, 44.5. Minus 7.21 is what I have, and 45.39. Not really any value there. I do expect UCLA to bounce back and put up some points. I feel like Chip Kelly has to show what he can do. I don't feel like he has all the horses he needs, but you got to appease the fan base there, and they'll probably try to throw up a bunch of points. We'll see what happens, but my model doesn't like that game at all. BYU at Tennessee. BYU had that tough game at Utah last week, and now they travel to Tennessee, minus 4.5, 52.5. I have Tennessee as only a 2-point favorite and 50.52. So very similar, less than a field goal difference there. Not much in the way of value in that game. Both of those teams coming off losses. So not something I'd want to touch right there. So let's move on. LSU, this is the big game of the week. LSU at Texas, 2 top 10 teams. Texas at home getting 7 points, 57.5. I have this game as a virtual coin flip, 0.08 favorite Texas, 59.25 is the total. Everything here says take Texas. LSU is a very good team, and both of these teams are, legitimate football playoff contenders for the national championship. So I don't think either team losing would be a bad loss for their ultimate goal of making the playoff, but you got to like Texas plus 7. That's a lot of points. I felt like their defense played really well against Louisiana Tech, and I don't think LSU is going to put up 50 points on their own. So I really like Texas in that spot. Arkansas and Ole Miss, the battle of the bottom of the SEC. Ole Miss minus 6.5, 50.5. I have it minus 7.6, 54.6. So my model says take the over here, but it's, Ole Miss just lost to Memphis, which is not a bad team, but Arkansas has been rebuilding for a few years. This is a game that you don't know if either team is really what they're really playing for at this point. So I'd stay away. I do expect a bounce-back game from Ole Miss, but there's no value there. Nevada at Oregon, very interesting game here. You have Nevada, a very strong Mountain West team, and then Oregon, who had the tough loss to Auburn last week on a neutral field. They get a home game. This is not a gimme at all. Oregon's favored by 24.5, but Nevada, my model has them only as 14-point dogs. That's a 10-point swing. The total 61.5 of my model only has it at 54.84. So again, that leans under. I do like Nevada. If you're getting 25 points, that's a lot of points. That's very good value. We'll see if that makes my picks at the end of the show. Buffalo at Penn State. Buffalo won last week against an FCS opponent, and Penn State is considered a top 5 team. We've got Penn State as a 25-point favorite. My model does. 29.5 is the spread. 56 is a total. 55 says the model. It's right on. I'm not touching this game. It could easily – this is one of those games where you're getting 30 points, and it all depends if Penn State wants to pull off the gas. I think Buffalo is undervalued here. They don't have – they had 3 NFL caliber players leave last year, so in skill positions. So, obviously there's, a drop-off, but I feel like the MAC is a very underrated conference. It's nowhere near the Power 5, but 30 points is a lot, but no value for me to take a wager there. Miami at North Carolina. North Carolina 5-point underdog, 46.5. I have them as 6.39 underdog and 48.9. Again, that game, the market is very close to where I see it, which means there's not much value for us. So I feel like that's an interesting game to watch for who's going to win that division to take on Clemson or Syracuse. If Syracuse could somehow beat Clemson, then maybe that changes things. So, but if you're into the ACC, that's an interesting game to watch. Stanford at USC, -3, 43.5. Now, I watched the USC game last Saturday night against Fresno State. Their starting quarterback out for the year. I've heard some conflicting reports that he's not out for the year, but they're going to have a freshman starting at quarterback. And Stanford, coming off that game against Northwestern, good, stout defense. I feel like this is, it's got a Stanford win written all over it. I have Stanford as a 3-point favorite, and the market has USC as a 3-point favorite. My total is 49, so I'm leaning over on this game. But, wow, Stanford getting 3 points. Usually when my model is the opposite side of a favorite, those games usually end up having the best value for me. I went, I think, 2-1 on those games last week. So we got Cal at Washington, a traditional Pac-12 game, minus 14, 43.5. I have the model, 14.88, 45.32. It's right there. And then Minnesota at Fresno State. Again, I like these Mountain West teams. I like watching their games. I have Fresno State. I have this game as a coin flip, and Minnesota is a 3-point favorite. 46 is the total. I have 49.99. So they scored 54 last week against USC on the road. That could easily go over again. Again, we'll see which picks I end up taking at the end of the show here. But that's my college preview for this weekend. So let's move right along into the NFL. And we've got a lot of games to cover. We're going to start with the Rams at the Panthers. I'm expecting Cam Newton will play. Panthers 1-point dogs. 50 is the total. I have the Rams as 2.31 favorites. Not much value on that game. Titans at Browns. Everybody's on the Browns. I have the Titans, as 4.26 point favorites. I lean under on this game. You think with the offensive stars for the Browns it would go over, but you've got to look at the Titans with what they've got, and Derrick Henry is not available. I feel like this is going to try to be a defensive battle. Chiefs at Jaguars, plus 3.5 at home for the Jaguars, 51.5. I have the Chiefs at 6.72 points. It's almost double the points, almost a 7-point favorite. So, God, I really like the Chiefs here. I hope Andy Reid doesn't Andy Reid himself and make some bad in-game decisions. But it's hard. I think Pat Mahomes will regress some this year, but his regression will still be a top 5 quarterback. His regression numbers will still be a top 5 quarterback. And the Jacksonville defense has been defense on reputation only. The last year they were not very good. So if they can correct the ship, we'll have to see what happens. But, boy, it's a tough test for them, like the Chiefs there. Ravens at Dolphins. Be interesting to see what Lamar Jackson does. The Dolphins are in the total rebuild. They traded away some good players for draft picks. I like the over here. It was 37.5, and now it's 38.5, and it's going to be 39 very shortly. I have it at 42.4. So, they're professional football teams. There's going to be some scoring here. But I could see this, being a, 28-14 type of game. Falcons at Vikings, very tough game to handicap. Falcons plus 4 seems like a very juicy number. I have the Vikings as 3-point favorites, and home field advantage is usually considered about 3 points. So you take it for what it's worth. The total's right on. Not much of value in that game. And the Bills at the Jets. Jets are minus 2.5 at home. 40.5 is the total. I have the Jets at minus 1.5 at home. So on a neutral field, I have the Bills. I think this is a toss-up game. If you look at all the previews for the NFL this year, everybody's like the Bills and the Jets are right neck and neck with each other. I actually think the Bills are further ahead. They're definitely ahead defensively. I think that Darnold is probably a better quarterback than Josh Allen at this point. But the Bills, I think you're going to be very impressed with their running game. We still have to see what Le'Veon Bell does. But I like the Bills in this game, and it's a toss-up game, so it's all about the number you get. And the Skins at the Eagles, minus 10, 44.5. I have the Eagles minus 11.98 points, 42, so it leans under. You wonder what the Skins are going to do. We'll have to wait and see. But they always find a way to be remotely competitive, even in their bad years. All right, so let's continue with the NFL. We got the Colts at the Chargers. Of course, Andrew Luck is retired. Jacoby Brissett is going to lead the team. It's a pretty complete team if he can, they can avoid the turnovers. I do have the Chargers as 5.96 point favorites. The total is right on where it's supposed to be. Not much value in this game at all. I would think that if the Colts got to +7, you would think about taking the Colts. I really don't think that game's going to be a blowout by any means. Melvin Gordon, of course, is out. The Bengals at the Seahawks. Seahawks -10. Real tough place to play in Seattle. 44 is the total. I have the total at 48.21. I feel like the Bengals are being underestimated on their ability to score points. Joe Mixon is a great running back. Andy Dalton has, questionable targets to throw to, but he does have Giovanni Bernard out of the backfield. And what replacement level wide receivers he can bring in, assuming that none of their top three get back on the field in time for game one. The Lions at the Cardinals, this game really intrigues me. Cardinals are 2.5 dogs, 46.5 is the total. I have the total at 41.02. I have this game pretty much as a coin flip. Now, the Lions are, I feel like there's a lot of sharp money coming in on the Lions because of the Arizona defense, not necessarily the offense. But I also think that this game is going to be more of a running game than people think it will be. And I actually think that this might go up to 47 at some point, or 47.5. And I really like the under here. Giants and Cowboys in the late afternoon. Cowboys -7.5, 45.5 is the total. I have -8.04, 46.17. That game's right where the market has it. And I can't really say much about it except let's see how the Giants, fare. Let's see how Eli does, how long it takes before they give the other guy a try. 49ers at Buccaneers. This is going to be a very interesting game to me. -1, 51 is the total. I have the Buccaneers as 2.6 point favorites. 48.84 is the total. It leans under. I think the Buccaneers defense is going to be very good this year. And I think it's going to be a very interesting test for Jimmy G to see what kind of a passing he gives up here. What kind of passing game he creates this week. He looked awful in the preseason, and I don't know if that was just rust or he didn't care or what. Steelers at the Patriots in the Sunday night game. Patriots -6, 49. I have the Patriots -7.26. The Patriots at home are usually money. The total's right where it's supposed to be. It leans a little bit under. I wouldn't touch this game at all. There's much better value on the board for week one. Then on Monday night, we got a doubleheader. The Texans at the Saints, -6.5, 52.5, -5.63. The Saints defense is very good. The Texans defense is very good. This game actually leans under for me, about 3 points under what the market has it right now. And then we have the Broncos at the Raiders. Raiders 2.5 dogs, 43 is the total. I actually have this game as a coin flip. The Raiders actually a half a point favorites. And this model was run right before they announced Antonio Brown was suspended, but I don't really think that affects the model that much because he was almost non-existent in the preseason. So he didn't really play very much. The total's right where it's supposed to be. I'm shying away from that game, but there seems to be value on the Raiders, especially if it gets to +3. So that's it for the NFL. I'm going to do a quick overview of the CFL. I have been horrible at the CFL, and I'm not making any CFL picks this week, although we've got 4 games. The Lions at the Alouettes, -6.5, 50.5. You have to wonder what the motivation is for the Lions at this point. They have no chance at a playoff spot. Coach, some players may be playing for their job. The offensive line coach was fired last week. Alouettes right in the middle of a playoff run, so you feel like they're locked in and ready to win this game. But I don't know. 6.5 is a lot. On the other hand, you got the Argos at the Red Blacks on Saturday. And the Red Blacks are 5.5 point favorites, but they're starting Jonathan Jennings, who has many more interceptions than touchdown passes. And he has gotten the starting nod again. And I think the Argos are going to be very competitive here. And if that gets to 6 or 6.5, I would consider taking it. Rough Riders at the Blue Bombers, minus 248. Rough Riders are playing really well. Cody Fajardo's been amazing. Blue Bombers still have their backup quarterback starting. Chris, the main running back for the Blue Bombers, whose name escapes me at the moment, Andrew Harris. That's it, Andrew Harris. He is still one more game suspension. So I kind of lean over here, but I like the Rough Riders. And then Stampeders at Eskimo, rematch of last week. I think the over is in play here. It was 47 last week, and they only scored like 34. I feel like this week will be a little bit better. And I do like the Eskimos here and the over there, but no plays for me in the CFL this week. So after talking about 40 football games, what did we come up with this week as we try to recoup from last week? And I've got 6 plays again. I try to be selective as possible, but I felt like there was a lot of good value on the board. There's a lot of other games I passed up. For example, the Nevada game, I felt like getting 25 points with Nevada was a really good play. But these are the ones I'm much more comfortable with. We're going to start with Cincinnati and Ohio State, over 52, minus 108. I think that game is an easy over. You know, I could be wrong, but model says 60 points, over 60 will be scored in that game. And then the big matchup, Texas LSU, I like Texas plus 7, minus 113 at home. I bet that comes down to 6.5 or 6 by the time the game starts. And Stanford, I think, is lined up for a win against USC, plus 126 on the money line, so no point spread there. Really like that, but you could take them plus 3 if you do not want to take the money line. On Sunday, we're going to take the Chiefs plus 3.5 at plus 103. What a great number. I'm sorry, Chiefs minus 3.5. Excuse me, it's minus 3.5, plus 103. So Chiefs minus 3.5, but I like them to win by 7. The Bills money line plus 132. Like I said, I think this is a coin flip game. I like the Bills defense. It should be a one-possession game. Look for the Bills to have the mild upset there. And then the Lions and the Cardinals under 46.5, plus 106. I feel like that number may go up to 47 or 47.5. I like the under in that game a lot. I expect a rushing attack. And Matt Patricia's defense to be very good against the Arizona offense. So that's going to do it for our show today. I want to start to, as things move along in the fall, I want to start to get back to doing sportsbook lessons and have some guests, and we'll try to do some exciting new topics and maybe do a location shoot. So I'm heading over to the Del Lago right after the show here, and if you're over there, come up and say hello. And I always like to talk to people about sports betting, so look forward to maybe seeing one or two of you over there. And thanks for watching, and let's get some winners and get out of this rut. I got my winner shirt on to break the losing streak, and let's do it. I'm going to play the outro music for you, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.